So, in the previous class, we discussed Nectar of Instruction, verse 1. That's what we started. So, we finished the preface. And then we started the first verse of Nectar of Instruction. Okay. Before we go, and then we discuss the initial part of the first verse of Nectar of Instruction. So that part is very important. The Prabhupada is giving a particular flow. It's very important to understand that flow. So what we will do is, I'll let you all recap what we discussed in the previous class very fast, and then so that we have the continuity in the class. Not from the preface, but only from the first part that we did last week. So what are the key points that we discussed? What do you remember?
Vacho Vegam, Manasa Vegam.
Okay. What is the importance of this Vacho Vegam verse, and for who it is important? There are two perspectives. What are those two perspectives? Okay, one person. Okay, raise your hand. Okay.
First one is perspective of sadhaka, like how to select a spiritual master.
Okay.
The second perspective is like spiritual master to maintain his standards.
Okay. So from a sadhaka's point of view, not that how I can become a spiritual master and have many disciples all over the world. That's not the mood. The mood is, how do I choose my spiritual master, and from the spiritual master's perspective, it is not a position simply to be venerated, but it's a grave responsibility that anyone who wants to be a spiritual master should have control over whatever that Rupa Goswami is going to speak now, over the senses. That is when a person can be called as Goswami. So there is a very high standard. Now who is that person? Who are those people who are going to become spiritual masters in future?
Everyone.
Yeah, who has said that? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that. Yara deke tare ka Krishna Upadesh, Amara Agya Guru Ana Tarai Desh. I think somewhere else I saw, Bhakta Prabhu also, I think in this morning's class he was repeating. It's all of us. The responsibility for all of us to lift our game, so that then we can be the future of ISKCON. The future of Prabhupada's movement is all of us. If we put the responsibility on somebody else, then that is a very easy job. The future of ISKCON is each one of us sitting in this room. So then it's our duty to constantly meditate on this verse and see within our internal selves, where we are lacking, and to lift our game. Because we have to come to that position. Now whether we become spiritual masters or not, it is anyway required to go back to Godhead. Right? Whether you become a teacher in IIT or whether you become a student in IIT, if you want to enter IIT anyway as a student, still it is required. Right? So enter spiritual world, all these things are anyway required. Otherwise we are not going back to God. If we are not doing all that. Not all that means whatever that we had written in the board which was wiped out. Probably I can't see you. Thoda aisa aa jaiye. नहीं ठीक है. Now I can see you. I want to be able to see everything. Okay. What is the other point?
Manasa Vegam.
What is the other point that we discussed in the
We also
context?
discussed about atonement and the hazards of false atonement and real atonement.
And Paschatap. Prayaschitta and Paschatap. Paschat means what? In Hindi it's called Iske Paschat. Means what? After. And Tapa means tears. So the tears which we cry after having done a wrong deed is called as Paschatap. We didn't discuss this in this way in the last class, but it's just an addition. There's too much water now. Thank you, bro. Mataji also filled that. She said. Anything else we discussed?
slightly connected to what you said, but you said that the guru or the people may have the knowledge of SAP, Sambandha Vidya Prayojan, but this verse also actually talks about to check your own behavior in daily lives, in character in daily lives.
Very good. Very good. Yes. Yes.
Actually, so you said about Sahajiyana that they may have the knowledge of that as well.
Correct.
But their behavior may not be conducive or as per the requirement.
Very good. Very good. So please remember these points. These are very important. Everyone heard? Okay. Very good. What else?
We also spoke about speaking like the toad is croaking. So we spoke about that, we are oblivious to death, which is ever coming.
Correct.
But the snake is coming to bite you with death.
Yes.
But we are still oblivious.
All right.
We can't,
Right.
we are so busy, so literally.
Correct. Very good point. So sometimes in life we get so engrossed with our work or our problems that we forget that we have to resolve all our problems very quickly, because and then the time should come when we are peaceful and we are starting to focus on the Lord. Because death is coming every other day. Sorry. Death is coming. Death is one step closer with every rising and setting of the sun. Ayurharati vaipumsam udyanashtam cha yanas asau. Tasyartaya shanonita uttama shloka vartaya. With every rising and setting of the sun, we are one step closer towards death. So we must realize that constantly. We must remind ourselves with every passing day. Otherwise, we will never feel the urgency to change ourselves. We will feel the need to change ourselves.
But not the urgency.
So we will feel the please hear this carefully. We may be convinced and we may feel the need to change ourselves, but we may not feel the urgency to change ourselves. There is a difference. You agree? All of us, do we have to become pure devotees? Yes. Is it urgent? धीरे-धीरे हो जाएगा. We all of us feel that we are going to live till 70. Somehow we have that feeling inside our mind, right? Which we may not. Right? We may not. We may live till 80, 90 also. But again, as we discussed, I don't know whether in this forum or in some other forum we discussed, what is our active period? Even if someone says that your horoscope tells you that you will live like till 80, what is going to be the active period in Kali Yuga? Active life.
40, 50.
20. You are staring now. ऐसा मत बोलो. You have to give me some hope in life. There are many people. जिनका hope टूट गया है. At least say 55.
40 itself is 100.
Because I have crossed 35 now.
100.
Recently.
100.
Okay. So the point I'm saying is that if, of course, people like me, I don't know how long I will be healthy. My hands are like that because I'm not disciplined in exercising. But for people who even are doing exercise and walking for 10 kilometers, 15 kilometers, every day with a lota in their hand, such people, okay, how much time do you think we will have our active life, where our senses will cooperate and everything? At 70, can we, or 80, we start thinking about changing our, meditating on our anarthas at that age, then thoda fight hai life mein. So active, and then to correct and then implement our changes in terms of our service, in terms of sadhana. So if you see, the time is short. Even if we are not there, our active years in Krishna consciousness, where we will have the willpower and the strength to change our habits. The physical strength also is required. Mental strength is required. Mental willingness to change is required, and physical strength to back it up is required. For example, if I feel that I have not done service, which I have to now become serious and become perfect in deity dressing. That's example. For example, we can become perfect only if our backs are perfect. Because deity dressing ke liye your back has to be good. If your back is not strong, then you can't bend and do the deity worship. So these are all very practical aspects. You can't do Shaligram Puja if you have a bad back, right? So therefore, then how long will you think our back will cooperate with us? We don't know. Maybe it will cooperate for some people. Like for example, we have some people who are 70 plus. Our Devamrit Prabhu, who does with us. He, myself, and Krishna Prabhu, we are pujaris in the morning, and with you also he has an overlap, right? Nowadays, sometimes he's 70 plus, and Jagannath Vallabh Prabhu, they are very strong. Both of them are very strong. Okay, because there is a lot of physical activity. They have kept themselves like that. But I don't know. In my case, I have no idea. I'm pretty quite on the opposite side. I would think so. God knows when we will collapse, like that. So the active years are very less. Yes, Madhu.
And actually, I go to pain management for 2 to 3 days a week. I spend 5 hours in the clinic minimum. But I see many people like who are really fit. They meet with accident. Like that's not their mistake, somebody else's mistake. They are not able to do anything, and they are suffering like anything. It's not like we don't know what is.
Yeah, we don't know what's going to happen. So therefore, there is the sense of urgency should be always there. And this verse is bringing that sense of urgency. That's why it's all about urge. The word urge comes from urgency. So we have to feel that urgency. Otherwise, we'll become very comfortable. We sab ठीक ठाक जा रहा है. First class life में all सब अरमान पूरे हो रहे हैं. So suddenly something can snap anywhere, and it can happen tomorrow also. So therefore, that urgency has to be. So Rupa Goswami is bringing that. So Prabhupada gives the example of. That's why that example is of frog. The frog is croaking, unaware that the snake will come and gobble it up. Which means what? We are all deeply engrossed. Frog's croaking is not about the frog doing prajalpa. Many times people understand it that way, this example. That's not the example. It just means the frog is engaged in its activities, in its natural constitutional nature. Okay? So we are also engaged in our natural constitutional, not natural in one sense, our acquired constitutional nature of mode of passion, working very hard in our daily lives, ye chahiye, wo karenge, ye karenge, and then death is approaching. So that example is very, very vivid, very good example. Okay, what else did we discuss quickly?
Two more analogies. River.
Correct.
And the moth.
So tasyate yakshanonita uttama shloka. The second half of that line, where but for devotees who are engaged in serving the Lord 24 hours a day, for them they don't need to worry about death, because it's like a river merges into the ocean. The natural characteristic of river, the river doesn't change its nature when it merges with the ocean, right? So the same activities will continue. Whereas a moth which is entering the fire, that's against its artificial nature. The nature of the moth is not, the goal of the moth is not to enter the fire. The activities of the moth is not to enter the fire. The moth has other activities, but it gets attracted and then it goes and enters there. So these two examples are also given to help us understand. Alright. So then we talked about the urges. Now what all urge to control. So first urge is what? Urge to speak. Vacho Vegam, which we discussed last class. We didn't discuss any other Vegam, right? In the last class. So what did we discuss in Vacho Vegam? Why does the urge to speak come from? Not about Krishna Katha, but the urge to speak other things. Because of restlessness of mind. It comes throughout the tongue. Whatever is in the mind, it comes out through the tongue. So that's why later on what is coming? Manasa Vegam is also coming in this verse. So we talked about, yes, in that context only we talked about all these things. We further elaborated this. We talked about Vedanta Desikan's example, which is the moth and the river entering the ocean. So the urgency to speak, what is the solution for the urgency to speak? To dovetail speech in? Yeah, speaking about. No? If you have a lot of penchant for speaking, then get into preaching. It's better. We will talk about, at least we can dovetail that in Krishna Consciousness.
All Mataji should preach, bro.
मैंने बोला है. Please understand who told this. Deal with them later on after the class. Your individual capacity. You will not receive public support from me on these things. Public support.
Prabhuji, we are only going to follow.
Okay. So then now we will talk about Manasa Vegam. This is the second topic. Manasa Vegam means control over the mind. So let us read what Prabhupada has to say first.
Page 6.
Page 6 में where
As for the virtues of
who wants to read? Okay, Ashwata Prabhupada, you read.
the restlessness of fickleness of the mind, Manovega, is controlled when one can fix his mind in the lotus feet, on the lotus feet of Krishna. The Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 22.31 says, Krishna Surya Shama, Maya Haya Andhakara, Yaha Hare Krishna, Tahari Nahi Maya Adhikara. Krishna is just like the sun and Maya is just like darkness. If the sun is present, there is no question of darkness. Similarly, if Krishna is present in the mind, there is no possibility of the mind being agitated by Maya's influence. The yogic process of negating all material thoughts will not help. To try to create a vacuum in the mind is artificial. The vacuum will not remain. However, if one always thinks of Krishna and how to serve Krishna best, one's mind will naturally be controlled.
Okay. Okay, this section talks about Manasa Vegam. Okay, what are the points here? The vacuum of the mind should be filled with Krishna. Yes.
Bhagavad also says Manashastra Indriyani, so even it is struggle the sixth sense for mind. So if we engage the mind in the Krishna, then it's not covered. It cannot be covered. So that's the only way to work. That's why what's the way out.
Initially we can't control the mind, so mind needs to be engaged. So the more you engage the mind in the Krishna conscious activity, then it's automatically controlled. So you try to in the yoga system, they try all the different things to control the mind. It's again like in Bhagavad Gita, it's like a wind. You can't control the mind. So we can't control the mind, artificially. We need to engage more and more and more in Krishna conscious activities. It's automatically controlled.
In Krishna consciousness, we control mind not by meditation process, it's more by having Krishna in our thoughts.
Okay. How? And
actively engaging in devotion.
chanting is the time when we least think of Krishna.
Ideally.
In one sense, if you see, chanting is the time when we least think of Krishna. Many times. So how do we keep? So Prabhupada was asked one day, if chanting is the Yuga Dharma, why have you established so many temples? ये सब क्यों plate लेके भाग रहे हैं, bucket लेके ऊपर नीचे भाग रहे हैं? Why are people running with buckets and so many activities are going on? No? Deity worship, this, that, garland service, this, preaching, so many things. Prabhupada said to keep all of you busy. Though actually chanting is a Yuga Dharma. Chanting is enough to take us back to Godhead. So even when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaja's time, people complained about one Babaji type person, Akinchana Krishnadas Babaji, saying that every time only he is chanting. So Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj said that you put up an advertisement for the mutt, saying that chanters required. They will be given accommodation, food, everything. See how many people come. There were no one who applied for that job. So if you put an advertisement for various jobs which involve physical activity, people usually apply. But if you tell someone to sit in one place and chant, no applications for that job. So therefore, by that Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj said, actually he gave the importance of chanting. If you only chant, that is good enough. You don't need to actually do anything, and we should not criticize people who are serious chanters. Of course, chanting ke naam pe, if someone is saying that, Prabhu, can you do this service? Prabhu, chanting rahega hai. If you say like that, and then especially if it is evening or night time, then that is not acceptable. Then that means we don't have taste. It's not because of taste of chanting. It is because we have engaged in some other activity, not prioritized our chanting. Therefore, we have not finished our chanting. Therefore, when we are asked to do service, then we are quoting chanting. So it doesn't mean there is a taste for chanting. That is called as gross mismanagement of time and misdirected priorities in life. Okay. So I am not talking about that example. We are talking about Akinchana Krishnadas Babaji, who could not stop chanting because of his love for the Lord. And it showed, and his mood showed in several other ways also. Even when some people will come and tell ill about other devotees to him, all that he will say is, Hare Krishna. No. Prabhuji, you know about this devotee as such and such. No. He has done. Hare Krishna. That's all he will say. He will not say anything else. No comments. Right? So there is no prajalpa at all. So this is really called as, this is a good example of, so his only business is to chant and go back to Godhead. That's all. Not engage in criticizing or mundane topics or gossip, etc. So it's a very high standard. But we are asked to, follow that standard. Alright. Okay, so Manasa Vegam. Now somebody was also talking to me the other day, saying that there was some anartha which this devotee is trying to overcome. Okay, but this devotee is obsessed with his anartha. This devotee is obsessed with this anartha. And how to overcome this anartha. Now, this is where Prabhupada is giving a very practical solution, saying that yes, we have to be aware of our anarthas, but at the end of the day, it's not enough. No, it's not enough to be just aware. We have to do something about it. But even for doing something about it, it is not enough that we should not think that simply meditating on our anarthas is doing something about it, because that is only the first part, which is what? Recognition. But there has to be action. So rather than meditating, what we were discussing with this devotee is, rather than you meditating on your anarthas and feeling scared about it, okay, then you think of the time when this anartha happens and then fill that with, like someone said, fill the glass with Krishna Consciousness. So think about now the solution to that and start engaging in the activities which will help you overcome those anarthas, rather than only meditating on anarthas and feeling low all the time about it. So therefore, if we are only thinking about the negatives in our life, then spiritual life will become very difficult. Right? So it's not to think too much about the negatives in our life. Doesn't mean become shameless or think that I am a perfect devotee. Please don't misunderstand. But not to only keep talking about, I am fallen, I am fallen, I am fallen. So Prabhupada also, once one devotee went and came, told Prabhupada, I am fallen, Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, okay, do something about it. Rather than just saying, I am fallen, I am fallen. So therefore, spiritual life becomes very difficult when we try to avoid the negatives. When we too much focus on the negatives and try to say, Prabhu, how to avoid this, how to avoid this, how to avoid this. Okay. So look at the positive aspects which have been given by the Acharyas and focus on the positives. Automatically the negatives will go away. By a higher taste, the lower taste will go away. So always for example, if we are struggling with our senses, okay, and we can't control. For example, somebody may can't control their tongue, feel like keeping on eating, overeating. Now instead of keeping on focusing on that, then what is the solution for that? Solution for that is to control the tongue only, in one sense. But how that control over tongue will come? Prabhupada says the control over tongue will start by vibrating the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, right? So then focus on attentive chanting. Focus on intensifying the prayers to the Lord to overcome anartha, rather than only focusing on the anartha and developing some kind of a complex and then going into a shell etc., etc. That is a very negative approach to the problem. The proactive solution is what? Take shelter of the Lord. Take shelter of the Lord in every problem that comes in our life. Intensify the quality of chanting, beg for the Lord's mercy, always thinking that, yes, this problem you are giving me, it's a test that you are giving me in my life. I want to succeed in this life. But to succeed in this life, I am not only asking you for freebies, I am going to do this on my side right now. Okay. Thus far, my chanting was on a quotient of 1 to 10. I am probably 2. From tomorrow, I will go to 10 out of 10. Yes or no? No. Obviously not possible, right? Say that I will go to 3 out of 10. Because he will appreciate that you have gone up. 50% improvement is already there. And he is going to reciprocate further. If you take 1 step, he will take 2 steps. So, just at least identify something which we can do more than what we were doing before, and take that as a sankalpa and then pray that, look, I want this problem to go away, but I am going to do this for you now. And make it very realistic, tangible, with a stretch goal. Not that instead of eating 20 rasagullas, I will eat only 19 from tomorrow. It is not a stretch goal. So say that if you are eating 20 rasagullas, say that from tomorrow I will eat 5. It's a stretch goal for such a person. So we have to be, so he also knows. He also knows very clearly what kind of tricks we can do with it. And if we are approaching him with tricks, he will play more tricks with us. So therefore, from the heart, set realistic goals which we can achieve, and then we have to try and achieve those goals. But the idea of emptying the mind is the Mayavadi concept, as Prabhuji was pointing out. That does not work. Because the Mayavadis try to empty the mind, they have no other way of, they are not looking at mercy helping them in their life. They are not even, that's the difference between Mayavadis and devotees. Basically, devotees means what? We are always relying on mercy. We do an endeavor and we expect mercy. That's our whole process. But Mayavadis try to control the mind by the dint of their own abilities. Which is why there is no mercy quota there. So they may succeed, they may not succeed. So that is why Prabhupada is quoting that verse. Krishna haya, Surya sama, Maya haya, Andhakara. So automatically what will happen? When light comes, automatically darkness will go away. You don't have to do something else. Let me try to remove the darkness. That's not possible. When light comes, darkness automatically goes away. So when Krishna consciousness comes, automatically anarthas will go away. That is the point that Prabhupada is trying to make here. There is a nice example given in Srimad Bhagavatam 4.22.39 where devotees are compared with jnanis. Where example is given that when waves come, we cannot keep ourselves dry. It's utopian to think that when a wave will come, that I will be dry. Wave will come, it will make you wet. Correct? So it's utopian to think that I will be not affected by it. So it is also utopian to think that my mind will never torment me. Or I will adopt some other process by which I will control my mind artificially. It will not happen. That is why it is considered as one of the tapatraya, out of the 3 tapatrayas, which is this called as Adhyatmic misery. Misery is caused by one's own body and mind. So, the whole of sadhana bhakti, Prabhupada has given this whole regimen or diet. You have to keep the children quiet. Nice level, please. Control. Keep doing your best. So the whole of sadhana bhakti, the whole process or the regimen or the diet is given to us to keep our minds busy with Krishna. Because sometimes it is difficult for us to control our mind directly. But through the medium of activity, then it is possible to control our mind. Through being engaged physically in doing garland service, we have a better chance of controlling our mind rather than simply doing dhyan. Right? When we start doing dhyan, what happens? Our mind goes to our problems of life. But it's lesser, we have all seen, no? But when we are cooking something, then we are slightly away from the problems of our life. That is why, that's in one sense, that is karma yoga. Thinking of the Lord through the medium of activity. So Bhakti Yoga is another, the Smaranam, what he is saying, Man Mana Bhava Mad Bhakto Madhyaji, all those verses which are towards the end. Those are all very high standard. So Prabhupada has given an entire regimen that forcefully think of Krishna. right? So that eventually, naturally, you will start thinking of him. So chanting and all the other activities associated with that have to go hand in hand, because other activities initially will help us think of Krishna, and eventually what will happen? Thinking of Krishna will become our habit, or we will become sensitive at least to the fact that we are not thinking of Krishna. That also will come into our blood. Outside, if you go to office, nobody is worried. I'm not thinking of Krishna enough. Who is worried? Nobody is bothered, right? But as devotees, we are bothered, no? So at least we have come to that stage. That's what Prabhupada has done that great job. At least we are bothered about it. That's a big advancement in itself, in one sense, right? And now Prabhupada now through these activities, we will do something about it later on. Through this knowledge that Prabhupada is giving us, we will do something about it. Okay. Now, this is a very important point which you have to remember. We said that through the medium of activity, we have to try and control our mind, right? Now, which activity to do? So, the solution offered is do that activity which is according to your nature. Take services which suit your nature. So all of us have a particular nature. If we are given services out of that nature, then it is difficult for us to concentrate on Krishna, right? So it is not wrong to take up services which suit our nature. Of course, it doesn't mean that if there were an emergency, if we were asked to do a service which is beyond our nature, then we quote our nature. No, Prabhuji, it is not in my nature to do this service. If there is an emergency, we have to take up those assignments. Like that. But in the initial stages of Krishna consciousness, it is better that we focus on activities which are suited to our nature. For example, some devotees who are shastrically inclined can get into teaching and preaching. Some devotees who are adept at the kitchen, they can do that. Some devotees will automatically be very good in deity worship. They can take that. Some may be good in garland making. They can take that. Right? There are so many services that one can do. Some people who are very good in physical labor can take up the service of washing the pots or cleaning undicha marjanam, cleaning the toilets in the temple, cleaning the courtyard. There are infinite number of services that one can take. If someone is very organized, for example, and has good communication skills, they can take up member services because it requires those kind of skill sets, right? So there are infinite services. Somebody is good at electronics, for example, then they can take up, Shamchandra Prabhu is taken up that service. So dovetailing the nature. So it is very, just imagine, every Maharaj comes, and then this is a standard feature now. Whether other things are brought on, this camera is there always. 2-3 cameras focusing. So this is a very important. So you will see that Krishna will also provide us opportunities through our own natures to do a particular service. So, but never to keep the mind idle. Never to keep the mind idle. So there is a quotation which I heard from Chaitanya-Charan Prabhu, which is actually a quotation which I believe they say in Russia or some country. I think it is Russia if I am not mistaken. It's a nice quotation. Think about it. Nothing is the place where something is usually hiding. Nothing is the place where something is usually hiding. What does it mean? An idle mind is a devil's workshop. That's what it means. So, usually our anarthas surface when we have nothing to do. That is the time that we want to, because the senses cannot stay shan, right? Because the mind is ashan. So senses cannot stay shan. Therefore, we have to fill our day with activities, Krishna consciousness, such that we do not have time, such that our senses do not have time to be idle, such that the mind will immediately say, now let us indulge in something like that. So we have to fill our activities, and better those activities are those activities which are according to our nature in Krishna consciousness, doubted in Krishna consciousness. That's the safest way. So it is important therefore to find out where the default attachment of our own mind is. Because we understand our mind better than anyone else. So we don't have to go and ask someone else, Prabhuji, which service I should take? First we have to ask the question, what do I like best? And then we can say, I like this, now which service I can take? That's a better way. Rather than somebody else giving us a service and saying that you told I am not enjoying this service. So best judge is us. then we are safe as well as satisfied. We are safe because we are engaged, and we are satisfied because we are engaged in what we want to do. So it's important to be both in Krishna consciousness. Be safe and be satisfied.
So can I add, sometimes it actually helps to do a service, a lower service, doesn't matter, I mean, I'm just saying a lower, I mean, no service is lower, but
Menial service.
any other word, it actually helps you to develop humility.
Yes.
You know, you might think, I'm too good to do this, my activity and my nature is doing this, right? But Krishna might have got a different plan, and he will engage in that, and by doing this, what you develop is actually, I mean, I can't describe it, it's actually the humility. You will start getting I'm not, in no service in Krishna consciousness is lower or higher. But we actually feel that, we are actually of that level. But Krishna will automatically engage and will develop that humility until you develop that humility.
Yes.
This is my realization.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. So lower and higher, there is. You're right. There is no service which is low or high. But we think that whatever service we do is high. Even, for example, someone can think who is very good at cleaning the toilets can also get a feeling that I am doing a very high service because I am doing a very menial service. And such a person, we have seen this. लोग बड़े-बड़े lecture देते हैं. हम तो bathroom साफ करता हूँ. Now what is this? This is humility or pride? You understand? So even in that, when you speak, it will show that he is very proud. He is looking down on other devotees who are giving class. Or a devotee, on the other hand, which is easy to understand. People will say, giving class is the highest, and they look down upon people. What, you are engaged in toilet cleaning, something like that. So both are problematic. We can get pride out of anything, because at the end of the day, our consciousness is only in love with one person, which is ourselves. That is the problem. So pride can come from any service. So actually you're right, there is nothing called as a high service or low service. However, if we are very good in one service, okay, Prabhupada encourages us to dovetail our natures in doing that. However, it is not enough to be only safe and satisfied, it's also required to be flexible where called upon to do other services. And by doing other services out of our strength areas, we will develop humility because we are not good at those services. Then we will be required to bow down to other people who may probably not be as good as us in doing our service, but it at least subjugates us to them so that we learn something from them. Sometimes Krishna will also arrange like this. He say that, I want to stay away from this Mataji, or I want to stay away from this Prabhu. Tomorrow, you have to learn Shaligram Puja from that Prabhu or Mataji. That Mataji, she is going to teach me. Like that our mind will go, right? मैं तो सोच रही तो I can comfortably avoid in this lifetime and go back to God. And Krishna will say, अच्छा, देखता हूँ. We'll give you second initiation and put you under that person. You will never know who you dislike. You may have to work with that person. And that's why the Lord is a perfect master. He knows exactly कहाँ pulse है अपना और उधर बराबर दबाएगा. To make us झुको भाई अभी life में तुम्हारा इधर है तुमको इधर झुकाता हूँ मैं बराबर. He is a perfect master. So yes, point is taken. So we have to redirect the mind's default motion to Krishna. What is the mind's default motion? To go towards Vishaya. So somehow we have to direct that mind's default motion to Krishna. So who does the responsibility rest upon to do that? The responsibility is on who? The temple president, Shiksha Guru, Diksha Guru, it's on ourselves. Okay. So we have to create the responsibility and we have to create opportunities for ourselves. Right? Obviously, Chaitanya Charan Prabhu is mentioning, we should not say, Prabhu, one service is Prashada Sevaya. My heart naturally flows to that. Nobody needs to motivate me. Therefore, is it not good enough to do Prasad Seva? That means I honor Prasada, because that's also Bhakti part. This is, no, not like that. And then he says that any activity which is disproportionately done can create an imbalance in our spiritual life. Which means, again coming back to your point, what you said, Gauranga Prabhu once told in one class, Gauranga Prabhu was going through, one of them said this in one class, I remember distinctly, that after giving a class, it is very good to immediately take up a menial service and do it. So that it kind of balances after giving a class. Because people will come and say, Arey, bahut acha class tha. Ye hua, hua. No, I got to learn so many things, blah, blah, all those things. Okay. So they are getting purified because they are glorifying the speaker. For us, glory is coming, praise is coming. So what happens? The car is now swearing off that noise is coming on the freeway and okay, come back. So do menial service immediately after that. So it's a good idea. Generally, for example, many of you will be giving classes in the temple. After giving class, go up and at least serve. Start doing that immediately. So we are reminded that who I am, like that. So because any activity disproportionate done, if we are only doing preaching service all the time, it's also a disproportionate activity. It can be provided, we are at that level. But for us, preaching is a sadhana. Like last week, I was giving a class for the lateral students on Wednesday. So, very nice program they are doing. So I was telling one devotee there who was shy of giving classes there, was shying away from giving classes there. She's a very nice devotee, quite capable of been in Krishna Consciousness for many years to do classes, but no, I will not do. So many times we think that taking up preaching activities or giving a class means that we will be perceived as not humble. Somehow everyone has this notion that class, no, I am not qualified. Cooking to karte ho. Are you qualified to cook? What are you talking? Are you qualified to cook? Who is qualified to cook? Radharani is qualified to cook. Actually, if we are not qualified, we shouldn't be even cooking. Then why only in preaching when we are saying I am not qualified? Because consciously we are doing that. We are comparing that service, one service as lower. We are actually putting down cooking. When we are saying I will not give a class, we are saying I am very low, so I can only cook. Which means cooking is menial service, low service, correct? If we are really thinking all services equal, we should say that I will give a class. If that is what I am required, so we have to correct that thinking somewhere in our minds. So not giving a class is not a sign of humility. Because if we grow up thinking like that, then we will naturally start criticizing those devotees who are giving class. वो तो प्रभु वो तो दे सकता है. No, we will imagine what we are saying. Of course, we will not say like that, but we will say, oh, वो तो बहुत advanced है. Advanced devotees लोग तो देंगे. Something like that we will say. But our mind is actually not glorifying them. Our mind is thinking that I am more humble. That's what we are trying to say. Either they are very advanced or they are thinking they are very advanced. That's why they are doing it. But I am very humble, bro. Therefore, I am feeling very unqualified to do that service. But the devotee who is saying that I am very unqualified will never feel that he or she is unqualified when working in the kitchen, right? Because they may have anda in the kitchen with some other senior devotee who is telling them salt क्यों ना डालते हो बराबर खिचड़ी में, right? So being unqualified, that nature has to be consistent regardless of any service, like that. That is what is Krishna will see. Krishna is bhavagrahi. Krishna is not saying कौन सा service कर रहा है. He is only seeing the mood in which you are doing any service. So you can become proud in cleaning toilet. You can still remain humble after preaching to 50,000 people and making everyone devotees. And there are umpteen devotees in the congregation. Very successful preachers who are very... for example, Bhaktivedanta Maharaj, let us take... youth preaching revolutionized in India. But we are all learning from his qualities. Right? Absolute gentlemanly qualities. Right? So there are examples. Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, who greatest preacher in ISKCON. Right? Whoever he touches becomes devotee. full Mayapur, king of Mayapur, right? So we see that there are pages. So how can preaching then be a service which will give us, because they are showing us by their example that you can still preach in that mood that I am a servant of the disciplic succession. So we have got enough examples like that. So certain activities done disproportionately can create imbalance. Activities have to be within the circumference of bhakti plus with senior devotees blessings. Of course we still seek guidance. We have 3-4 services, then we seek guidance and do that service with the guidance of devotees. So Chaitanya Prabhu is saying that in bhakti we need to do sustained bhakti. It is very important to do sustained bhakti. So is again emphasizing the point. So do what you enjoy so that your bhakti is in a sustained state. Not it will be like a sine curve. Upar niche jata rahega. So that is so much for manasa vegam. So the mind can only be controlled by doing, what is the key point?
Engage in an activity
which
is of your nature
and also be flexible to do
anything when need arises.
So that there is no other way of controlling the wild mind. No other way. Okay. Then we will go to Krodha Vega. The next part. So who wants to read? Krodha Vega.
Similarly, anger can be controlled. We cannot stop anger altogether, but if we simply become angry with those who blaspheme the Lord or other devotees of the Lord, we can control our anger in Krishna consciousness. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became angry with the miscreant brother Jagai and Madai, who blasphemed and struck Nityananda Prabhu. In his Shikshashtaka, Lord Chaitanya wrote, Trinadapi Sumichena, Tarorapi Sahishnuna. One should be humbler than the grass and more tolerant than the tree. One may then ask why the Lord exhibited his anger. The point that one should be ready to tolerate all insults to one's own self, and when Krishna or his pure devotee is blasphemed, a genuine devotee becomes angry and acts like fire against the offenders. Krodha, anger cannot be stopped, but it can be applied rightly. It was in anger that Hanuman set fire to Lanka, but he is worshipped as the greatest devotee of Lord Ramachandra. This means that he utilized his anger in the right way. Arjuna serves as another example. He was not willing to fight, but Krishna incited his anger. You must fight. To fight without anger is not possible. Anger is controlled, however, when utilized in the service of the Lord.
Okay, what are the points here?
Anger also can be used in Krishna's service. Transformation.
What are some of the examples that anger can be used in Krishna's service? Prabhupada. Bashing up the Mayavadi. Anything else?
We have seen in Janmashtami times, we do get a lot of normal outsiders who do misbehave basically and are being controlled. When we can practically see that the anger is being deployed in the right ways.
I won't entirely agree with that example. Let's take some pure examples. Yes, a spiritual master getting angry on the disciples. A parent getting angry on the child for the right reasons. Not a daru pi kaya the father has come drunk and then not that. Father chastising the children, getting angry. Because the only interest of the father or mother is what? The children are safe, protected, they become good citizens. Any other examples?
Mother's instructions to the children may seem to be sour, but it is for the betterment of the kids. It's hard love.
Yes.
also a sign of love.
Yes. So, build on it. Tell me more examples of anger in love. Build on it.
You know, the same child and the father.
Okay, I'll give you a clue. Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishna Leela. Build on it. Correct. Right. Lalita. Mother Yashoda. Right? So these are all examples you see of how anger is a rasa. Anger is a rasa. Krishna wants to taste that rasa. So how can anger in itself be only condemnable? Because anger is a rasa. Bhishma, Jagannath Mishra. So many examples are there, right? So chal raha hoga. If you share the joke with us.
Husband is a
Okay, but no, both discuss. Can I have a meeting after 9:15? What out?
What is Bhima's anger?
Huh? Bhima's anger is also spiritual. Bhima's anger is against Duryodhana for having outraged the modesty of a woman and for still being arrogant after that. And Dushasan for having called her to sit on the lap like that, a married woman. So Bhima's anger is also.
I'm a little bit confused. All these examples of Mother Yashoda, Krishna, and all this, we're talking about, in this context, are we talking anger as a rasa or how we can use?
We are talking about transcendental anger.
But I thought we're talking how to use anger in Krishna consciousness.
Which is transcendental anger only.
Yeah.
Transcendental anger doesn't only exist in the spiritual world. It exists here also. Yeah. But we have to be clear whether our anger is transcendental or not. That is a big challenge.
Far from it, but
Even book distribution, I think, is dovetailing our anger or dissatisfaction in people not doing the right thing. So we distribute the knowledge and they get the wisdom. That can be a way of.
Yes, in one sense, yes. Because through knowledge you are cutting ignorance. Yes, good example.
I'm thinking from the project Nectar of Instruction, Divine Instruction for us. So why we're discussing the all these examples?
No.
That's what I'm
He's
saying.
saying the krodha which is mentioned here is control material anger. That's what we are going to discuss. We are not even started discussing. So let's come to the discussion point. In Bhagavad Gita 16.21, the Lord says that in fact anger is one of the gateways to hell. Right? What is that verse? Kama, Krodha and Lobha. These three things are considered as the gateways to hell. So ordinarily it is mentioned that by Lord Krishna himself that the nature of anger is to cause destruction. Like that. Usually nothing good comes out of anger in the material world. Usually. Right? For example, in Srimad Bhagavatam, the Daksha pastime is also there. That is one of the angry pastime. Everyone is angry in that pastime. Daksha is angry, multiple Lord Shiva is angry, Lord Shiva's consort is angry, everyone is angry in that pastime. So nothing good comes out of such anger. However, anger cannot be rejected. Anger cannot be rejected. Anger has to be spiritualized because it is a part and parcel of the soul. That anger as an emotion is part and parcel. It has to be spiritualized. And that's why Prabhupada is giving this example of anger being spiritualized through the example of Hanuman. Hanuman set fire to Lanka. So it was his love for Lord Ramchandra. So he spiritualized his anger in the service of Krishna. So that anger is absolutely bona fide. However, it is also mentioned that Hanuman later on felt remorse. He thought that have I set fire to Ashok Vatika also. Like that. So there are two natures which are coming out there. Then Arjuna's example is given, and Lord Chaitanya's anger with Jagai and Madhai. So that these are all examples which are often quoted. Now, obviously, we have been cautioned that just because these examples are there, then we need to be conscious that we are not justifying our anger, saying that we are using it in Krishna's service. So, instead of using anger in Krishna's service, anger may end up using us in Maya's service. It can be exactly the opposite in our life. Because sometimes we need to judge, we need to assess where our anger is coming from. Many times our anger may come from our own insecurities, from our own pride, from our own inabilities to handle our own anarthas. From our own inabilities to handle our own anarthas, we will get angry with ourselves and we will reflect it on others. Does it make sense? Because we are not in control of something which we should be in control of. We will try to see, okay, should I blame this person for my life? Should I blame that person for my life? Should I blame that person for my life? So that can happen. Does it make sense? So we have to be very clear. So we have to that's why it's a good idea to take a step back and think of our own anarthas. 1 year we should take that vow. That in this 1 year I will only concentrate, at least 1 year. Or at least 1 month, at least 1 week. But I will only concentrate on this week on my own anarthas. And it's a wonderful exercise to do that. It's a wonderful exercise. We will be very peaceful actually. We will think we will get more agitated, but we will be very peaceful. If we start thinking of our own anarthas. Of course, and then take help, not be in self-pity after that. Now, one very nice statement Bhaktivedanta Prabhu mentions, whether our anger on someone is transcendental or not. How do we know? The sentence is, whatever emotion comes from our heart touches the heart. If an emotion is coming truly from our heart, nature will ensure that it will touch the other person's heart. But if an emotion is coming from our ego, nature will ensure that it goes to the other person's ego. It happens sometimes. We have all seen that. When we are chastising someone, the other person is quick to it. You don't have to tell anything. The other person knows kahan se aa raha hai. It is really coming from the heart because of affection of this devotee, or is it coming because of something, kuch aur hai, and then something else is coming through some other way. So this is a very profound sentence to meditate on. Whatever emotions come from the heart will go to the heart of the other person. Whatever comes from the false ego will go and directly touch the equivalent receptor of the other person. Right? Then there is a nice example which he gives, which I will write on the board quickly. So that they can also see, but not that they lose visibility. Okay, that's good. This is about children. I thought it's a good example for most of your parents here in this room. Just remember this matrix. Pretty sure all of you understood. Right? What does it say? It's a good example of anger of a parent with regard to the child. Anger of, sorry, you can see. You can see.
I can
Come on. How do I do now?
It's okay to
Otherwise you can just come here momentarily. Okay, everything right? So there are this is the parameter of love. This is the parameter of discipline. A parent always has this love versus discipline. So it says that parents who are low on love and low on discipline, how are they called as? They are being neglectful. Just be neglectful. Just let them child do whatever they want. Like that. So that's called as low on discipline, not chastising, because there is no time to love also. There is no time to love, there is no time to, बोलते हैं ना बच्चे रखड़ते हैं, रखड़ रहा है like that. कुछ नहीं है, there is no nothing like that. So that is called as a neglectful approach towards children. This is, what is this? High on love, low on discipline. No, what do I do? Child will feel very bad. I want to maintain relationship with my child. कल को बोलना नहीं चाहिए, parents, you people are very strict with me. I always want my child to have very good memories. Whatever they want, I'll buy. So buying anything for the child just so that relationship बना रहे, सब मीठा मीठा, everything is nice, hunky dory at home. It is called as permissive. Usually this happens not with parents. This relationship is there between grandparents and grandchildren. So grandparents usually have this permissive attitude, not correcting. So as the responsibility of correcting is parents. That's why we will find that children who are left under the care of grandparents, when parents have not taken responsibility for the child, because both parents are job में जाएंगे, grandparents के साथ पलेंगे children, such children become chaotic, absolutely chaotic. Because what is happening? They are receiving lot of love, but they are not receiving any discipline. So they who can discipline them in this world? So therefore this is very dangerous. This is dangerous, this is also very dangerous. This one, very low on love, very high on discipline. This is called as a military rule in the house. बच्चा कहाँ आता है? Like that. Child is not receiving anything, any love at all. This is usually seen in मेरे पास कोई प्यार नहीं मिला. He हो. Then the child will go out and search some girlfriend or whatever. Like that, कभी मेरे parents मुझे समझ नहीं पाए. Something like that, some dialogue will be there. So what is that? That is called as authoritarian parents. So the balance is what? The balance is love and discipline. Both have to be balanced. So then it is called as authoritative leadership. Where the child accepts the authority because the child is getting enough love also. The child is able to perceive. Of course, it is very, very easy to speak on this. Very difficult to do. Especially when the for teenagers. Very, very difficult. Because teenagers will not understand anything. Usually. There are exceptions who are sitting here, but otherwise, it's not always, it doesn't happen always. So this is a nice example that is given of how anger should be balanced. Now, this is, though it is told for a parent-child relationship, this can be applied for any devotee relationship also. Does it make sense? So, usually, which means what? We will have some right to discipline someone having given lot of love to that person. Therefore, we don't catch anybody, in the courtyard and tell them, Prabhuji, I think you must improve on this. Right? Or somebody will say, there are devotees, many devotees have come and said that I don't like the way this Prabhuji is instructing me because everything is right from the Bhagavatam only, right? But then they don't like it, that this devotee is saying. Because why? They have not received love from that devotee. Therefore, they are not willing to accept chastisement from that devotee. Does it make sense? So, this is especially if you are going to take leadership roles, if you are going to do roles like counseling or a Bhaktivedanta self-servant leader, etc. So we have to ensure that we give a lot of love to our members and then correct them and bring them slowly out of using that, like Stephen Covey says in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, you have to establish an emotional bank account with people. तो बहुत ज़रा emotional bank account भर दिया तो थोड़ा फिर उसको एक थप्पड़ लगाया तो फिर you are still safe because the emotional bank account of love is very high with that person of yours. Does it make sense? So this is a nice framework to remember for all of us as parents as well as devotees. Now, who are the people with? So how should be our response? No. This response is for people who are, we can say, who are devotees, people whom we love and people who are devotees. Now, what should be our response to blasphemers? How we should use the anger? Here it's controlled anger. Does it make sense? Towards the devotees, for their benefit. Now, for the non-devotees, how should anger then be should manifest? What are the thumb rules which are given? If someone is blaspheming the Lord or the devotee, what is the Sastri injunction?
Same as Raksha Pasa.
Huh?
Same as Raksha
Correct, but what?
That Lord Shiva walked away from it.
Yeah.
So we should also, if somebody is blaspheming,
So one is walking away.
One is walking away, then Parvati, she committed a suicide.
Yes, end your own life, walk away,
Cutting the tongue.
cut the tongue.
Or you can fight like Lord Shiva's devotees did.
Yeah.
That you can fight with the other party, and in our case that you defeat them.
Yeah. Okay. So hands up if we are going to commit suicide. Otherwise, most of us will be dead by now. Correct? So many devotees we have ourselves blasphemed. So much blasphemy we have also heard of others doing of other devotees. Okay. And all of us are alive. Our tongue is also alive now. Not cut. So there are 3 responses: walk away, give up life, or cut off the tongue, which is easy. Is that also easy?
No.
A devotee comes and says, Prabhu, I just feel that मेरे सब नहीं होगा ये devotee के साथ काम करने का. Very arrogant truth. I don't want to hear it. Walking away. कर सकते हैं क्या हम लोग? करना चाहिए. Why? Because we are now dealing with who? Non-devotees. Right? Okay. So there is no rigid formula. And this is also mentioned by His Holiness Adhana Swami in one of the lectures. There is no rigid formula of dealing with this. However, he says that the end result of making things better has to be kept in mind. The end result of making things better. So whenever we exercise anger, the end result of bettering the situation should be kept in mind. That's the outcome which must happen. Jo bhi hai, outcome should be for the better. Otherwise, there is no point. If it has become worse, further murkier, and then there is no point. So that is what we have to remember.
So, if the anger is actually to get a better transcendental outcome, will it be justified?
Yes, it is justified, but the methodology also, we have to use our intelligence also. Not that we are thinking that my outcome transcendental hai, so but my process can be suboptimal. We have to be very responsible. We have to think through the process. So that is why sometimes it is mentioned that never deal with a problem when you are angry. We cannot. अभी जाके वापस बोल के आती हूँ उसको जाके. No. Never deal when you are fuming. Always take a step back, assess your emotion. So Chaitanya Charan Prabhu says, whenever I get angry on a devotee, I never write that email on the spot. I always give it 2 days time or 3 days. After that I write. You can type it and keep. I have done it many times. I have typed so many messages. This is an office. I have typed many messages which I have deleted. Because some people make your blood boil. Okay? So I have typed messages and then I'll draft में डाल के रखूँगा. Then next 2 दिन के बाद आके देखूँगा. I'll tell you what, completely my message changes after that. And it's a very different message and it gets the outcome for me. If I would have sent that message on that day, outcome wouldn't have come and it would have created more friction like that. So just delay it, put in draft folder and then read it next day. You will find that, my God, I was so angry at this person. Na bhi kya angry hai abhi? Your mind, you will yourself see. अभी ऐसा भी नहीं लिखना चाहिए. Then you'll like that. So just get away from the situation, think through it, and again come back and do it. That's a good strategy which Chaitanya Charan Prabhu advises, like that.
Prabhu, I heard in one lecture, when you are dealing with devotees, and if you are angry, you think about his good qualities, it will come down to anger as well. And if two senior devotees are blaspheming each other, then my Guru Maharaj said, you should leave that place, or you should say, you both are senior, I am junior, I am not qualified to speak about this. Or if some devotees is blaspheming in front of you, then you should start glorifying that devotee's quality and make his anger come.
All three are very good points.
This is all good in theory, how do we apply this in practice, especially the office example that you gave? We probably are, to some extent, we could do that in office environment, but especially with our family and friends, when we're angry, we don't think about all these things. We just blurt out what's in our mind and
that's why take a walk.
Deal with the situation.
Take a walk. Recently, on 2 occasions, I walked and then took a walk and then came back to the house. It worked really, I can tell you. It worked.
But that's what I'm saying. How do we?
Because sometimes we can get angry with our children, and then sometimes बहुत ज़्यादा गुस्सा आता है. Then walk लेके आता हूँ. Go take jump on. Ideally take your MP3 player with you, and hear some soothing voice.
How do we get to that point? For example, that knowing or acknowledging that I'm getting angry now, I need to look for my MP3 player.
Take the weight back and walk out, or simply walk out. बोलना जरा जब बाहर घूम के आता हूँ. Even वो भी गुस्से से बोला जाता है. I'll get out of this house, but go and come back. And उस समय I tell you the Mataji should also not say कहाँ जाएगा वापस इधर ही आएगा. Don't take advantage. प्रसादम कह रहे वापस इधर ही आना पड़ेगा. And don't use that to your advantage. At that time say अच्छा अच्छा ठीक है जाके I understand your effort. ऐसा माताजी लोग ने बोलने का. वो बोलते हैं दुखती नस को नहीं दबाने. What nus is that?
तिरक पे हाथ रखना.
Next time all of it doesn't work, we're going to call you. Probably what next?
Yeah, if I'm in the house, I'll answer. Why do you want to walk? गाड़ी में झगड़ा हुआ.
यार जाके तू लेके जा मैं वॉक करके घर आऊंगी.
वो गोस्वामी did not think of this scenario. गाड़ी में झगड़ा हुआ. अच्छा मैं और एक बोलता हूँ एरोप्लेन में झगड़ा हुआ तो क्या करोगे? Then you have to jump off. Okay, please take the point essence. Okay, these are all the ideal standards. Yeah.
So anger comes from attachment.
Huh?
Anger comes from attachment. Especially when you are attached to a goal, like at work, I'm very much attached.
Correct.
Output income, so I get angry. At home also we are attached to the attachment. Why you didn't get this, or why this didn't. So that as we grow, mature, our attachment needs to decrease. So then you will start focusing on that this is what I want to achieve. Okay, this one is not happening. Then you will cool down. Okay, what can be done about it? But we are actually attached to the kids, to our wife, to our children, to our office job. Like why it didn't happen? So because we have to work in the mode of passion, a lot of time at work, automatically. Then, as Prabhu is saying, you detach yourself for some time. Okay, I'm writing the email in an angry mood. Then you detach yourself. Okay, I won't take the action now. So basically detachment at that point of time means that you won't take action at that time. So give yourself time to think and then take the action after you have thought about it next day.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, one more point. I remember Chaitanya Charan Prabhu in a lecture he told, plan ahead of time when you get anger, I'll do this. keep a plan
Ah.
to get anger. We do whatever you always just completely divert. If you get angry, just take up that task. Always keep backup plan when you get angry. I'll do that.
Is it working?
Right.
Alright, go ahead. Okay. So feeling anger is a sign of devotion. This is another point to remember. Feeling anger is a sign of devotion. Feeling anger towards the Mayavadis. I'm talking about non-devotees. Okay? So come back. Don't think about husband and wife. Feeling anger is a sign of devotion, but expressing anger may not always be devotional service. Feeling anger, if someone is blaspheming the Lord or his devotee, we feeling anger is a sign of devotion. But expressing anger may not always be devotional service. Okay? We may either improve or worsen the situation. So how we deal with it is very important. Not that mere irade to नेक थे. Because usually what happens, we judge ourselves, we judge others by their actions, but we always judge ourselves by our intentions. मेरा इरादा वैसा नहीं. But when the other person does, you say, तेरा इरादा कुछ भी होगा, मुझे तो बुरा लगता है ना. So we judge ourselves by our intentions, but we judge others by their actions only, always. So by our, so feeling anger is a sign of devotion. So our intentions are pure, but still we need, while expressing anger, we have to be responsible. Now, we talked about postpone the moment. Postpone the moment. But don't procrastinate anger. The release of anger too much. Okay, so there is a balance here again. Please understand. For example, I saw one movie, Amar Akbar Anthony. Still remember one dialogue from that. I don't know who. Rishi Kapoor was saying that. Akbar, he's Akbar in that movie. So both other guys, they have had a lot of fist fights. But Rishi Kapoor is a thanda fellow in that movie. So towards the end, one gunda is coming near him and he's telling, आज तक मैंने किसी पे हाथ नहीं उठाया लेकिन आज डम, he gives one punch to him. I still remember that vividly and I was clapping. अरे क्या मारा उसको, आज तक ठंडा था, like that. Or many times our own hero Amitabh Bachchan does that. आज तक ये हाथ किसी पे उठा नहीं है लेकिन आज fat he gives, like that. So this is called as procrastination of anger. So what happens when we deal with devotees? First instance, we have some problem with the devotee. But we have not discussed the problem on the spot immediately in a devotional mode. Does it make sense? Right? We have let it fester. Like that. Next time, again it happens. Something else happens. And we have not even discussed, we have not dealt with it. We have to deal with anger. Not procrastinate dealing with anger. And what happens, and we may think that, Prabhu, I have Vaishnava etiquette I have followed and I have done a great thing. मैंने पी लिया है ज़हर. I have taken the poison into myself. But you know what is happening? We are not Lord Shiva. That poison is acting on us. Right? So it will fester. And the third time, that devotee with whom we had this problem, they might have done as simple as they might have dropped this like that. गलती से. By mistake. And what happens? We give capital punishment to the devotee. We give capital punishment to the devotee. Why? Not because this was dropped. Ordinarily, if this was the first instance with the devotee, would we have responded with that reaction? No. Because we have allowed our anger to fester and not dealt with that anger with that devotee at that point in time. Now even small things which the devotee will give us incenses so much that everything will come blasting out. Like that. Does it make sense? And then relationships are gone, everything is gone. Right? So therefore this has to be dealt with maturely at that time. It has to be dealt with. But doesn't mean let the frog come out of the mouth. It just means take a step back, look, seek advice, deal with it quickly at that time. But don't let these things fester and create a bomb blast later on for a seemingly stupid problem. Just because you have pardoned on 9th occasion, but actually you have not pardoned. Because it's all coming out on the 10th occasion. If you have pardoned, it wouldn't come in the 10th occasion, right? So it's not, so we have to really realize, are we not dealing with it but allowing the poison to be inside us? So the poison should not be inside, right? It's not only about controlling the externals in an anger, it's also about controlling the internals. तो सेव करके बचत योजना में अंदर रखा है क्या मनी के अंदर, तो 7% के साथ बाहर आएगा एक साथ. It should not be like that. Whatever the interest rate in this country, 2.5%. Sorry.
Prabhu, it also depends on the relationship you have. In some instances you might just have to walk away. In some instances there will be situations. It depends, it's also in personal life.
So talking about devotees or not devotees?
No, devotees also. So in devotees also, how critical, is the relationship. I mean, it might be a devotee. I mean, there's so many devotees, but your personal relationship with him, does it elongate? So then, a lot of time you just have to walk away. Because, a lot of time you can't change him. So, and you haven't brought up that bank account balance anyway. So, so if you haven't brought up that bank account, you can't even deal with it. So a lot of time we just have to walk away, okay, thank you very much.
We don't even deal with people who are not in our restricted relationships. In terms of correcting someone, we can only give suggestions to people who are in our restricted relationships. We cannot go outside and become a masiha for everyone, because we are not the authority for everyone. Okay, so postpone the expression of anger, but not too much suppression of anger. Else there will be a bomb blast at the next provocation. Then, final lesson on anger. Always target anger towards the behavior and a specific instance, and don't target towards a person. Not say, Gadhayak. No, not like that. Say that, I think you are having, with respect to mathematics, I have tried to explain so many times, it's not going into your head. So I think there is a little bit more hard work you need to put in, then you will succeed. Not a Gadhayak. Kya mark lege aaya? No, not like that. No, in one place you are branding the person as a donkey. Right? In the other person you are specifically dealing. I think you are not doing the homework which is given at the end of every chapter section. That is why you are not getting full marks. You are losing marks because of that. Not saying that, you are impossible. You will never succeed in your life. Never. Not like that. So there are two reactions now. One, you are dealing with the person and you are branding the person. Another is you are dealing with a specific instance and giving, citing where exactly the problem lies. So that is one. Target the anger towards the behavior, not the person. If we target towards the person, we will lose that person. We stand to lose that person forever in our life. Right? We could have been very good friends with that person, but we will lose that person. So this anger has to be really, really addressed. Anger and emotions have to be addressed under the association of more advanced or senior. Okay. And when we address any difficult situation like that, relationship issues in our life, okay, we have to ensure that at the time of such discussions, our consciousness is very as pure as possible, not at an inopportune time. So it's a good idea, for example, to read some Bhagavatam and then come into the room to do some discussion, or just be in a spiritual environment and then discuss the issue. It benefits a lot. For me personally, it has benefited. When I have had this kind of a thing, and then when I have read something Bhagavatam or chanting and taken a step back and prayed to the Lord, always pray to the Lord, saying that, Lord, I am going to discuss with the devotee, we are having a difficult time together, but please, whatever I speak, whatever I do, may it be pleasing to you, and may you guide me. And say that prayer. Mukham karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripa tamma mande Shri Guru Dinatarena. Sometimes the relationships are so bad, but I'll tell you what, once you sit together in the right consciousness, friendships come back, and you know what, that feeling is great of having got back a friend who we have lost. That feeling is great. Why to lose that? Why to lose that for petty things? Why to keep poison and lose relationships? What do we want in our life? We want poison or we want relationships? What gives us more happiness? We know we are going to be more happy in fulfilling relationships. So why keep the poison inside the heart and keep pestering it? So when we go, we have to go with this positive approach. And if we even have one negative feeling even about one devotee and we keep that poison in our heart, we cannot enter. Because only 20 kg allowed in that airline. The 21st kg is not allowed by Vaikuntha Airlines. Of anger towards a devotee. No, we cannot enter. We will not get the passport, visa or whatever, admission into the flight. So we have to address that.
Sometimes if you want to address and it might get worse.
That is why we have to, if we cannot directly address the situation, then we have to address under an authority whom both of them respect and whose authority both of them approve of. Because if I have, let's say I have a problem with Sastri Prabhu, let us say, then we both will go to an authority who both of us will accept. Because I may not accept his authority, he may not accept my authority, but both of us will accept somebody, let's say Kadambakaran Maharaj, both of us will accept his authority. Then we go to that person and we seek guidance, like that. Otherwise it will not work.
Prabhu, I heard in lecture as well that, the root cause of the anger is attachment to that person, one's own ego. And in that lecture as well, that, once Prabhupada was doing the initiation ceremony and he was preparing for yajna and it was getting delayed and delayed and he was very angry. And one very new devotee came to him and said, Prabhupada, please stand. And Prabhupada accepted very with humility and he started chanting. So, if we are attached to our false ego, we will be few.
Yes. So Prabhupada is leading by example.
Very good points.
So target the behavior, target the anger towards the behavior, not the person. Okay, we need to remember this. Also, there is a methodology which is given. There is a 3-step process which is given. You may note down. Chaitanya Charan Prabhu gives a 3-step process.
In applying the anger.
In applying the anger. How to manage the anger. Process. First is talk about specific behaviors, not about the individual. Talk about specific behavior. I did not appreciate that you have put less salt in the khichdi today. क्या कुक लोग करते हैं आदमी है पैजामा है नॉट लाइक कैसे कैसे लोग आते हैं खाना बनाने के तुम्हारे ऐसे लोग भी खाना बनाने लेकिन that is another way of approaching. Does it make sense? That is not the way of approaching. Target it because our mind will tell us like that when we are upset, भूख लगा है और suddenly porridge में यही नहीं डाला है sugar ही नहीं है यार मैंने इतना लिया अभी. I'm talking about myself. Because you never know what response you get. Then the response is that Prabhuji Mataji लोगों के लिए ऐसा बनाने का rule बनाया है मंदिर में. अच्छा. I thought you were careless. Then the whole perception. Then you start feeling अरे यार unnecessarily मैं क्या सोचा मैं like that. Huh? Okay. So target everything towards a specific behavior. Explain one's own feeling. Because you behave like this, this is what I feel, therefore I got angry. Explain that.
One's own what?
Feeling. And sorry. Express one's own feeling is because you behaved like that, I got angry. This action of yours caused what emotion in my heart? First is what was the action, then what that action caused in my heart, and third is why that action caused whatever it caused in my heart, the cause of the behavior. So 3 things: the specific behavior, one's own feeling, and third is the cause of the behavior. A very good example, again it's a brahmachari example because Chaitanya Charan Prabhu is talking, he's giving a brahmachari example. He says, Prabhuji, I felt annoyed today with your coming late for Mangalarati. Not felt, I felt annoyed with you. I felt annoyed with the fact that you came late for Mangalarati today. That is what? You are targeting the anger towards a specific behavior. And you are also saying that I felt annoyed. But you are giving that example. I felt annoyed. And then finally you are saying, what is the cause? Because other devotees will take it as a bad example. because other devotees will take it as a bad example. Okay. Which I am encouraging. They will think that I am encouraging that behavior. Therefore, so he gives a good example of and then explain that we are trying to set up standards for the morning for brahmacharis, and that is why this activity of yours is not in alignment. So therefore, I got it. Because after repeatedly explaining the standards, still you are wrong. So like that, that's the way. Not that you lazy fellow. How come, who asked you to become brahmachari? No, not like that. This can also be, that kind of an outburst, right? Or don't you know that you need some qualifications to be a brahmachari? Vacho vega, manasankro vega. I'm saying that you are not gearing up, mate. You can behave in so many ways. But this is the approach.
Part of assertive communication, perhaps it wouldn't work at home. Tried it at home, it doesn't work.
So our test, that is why Grihastha Ashram is very purifying, because Grihastha Ashram means taking shelter of Lord Krishna under householder life. So our humility is best tested with our own spouses. Yeah, that is because in the temple we will be at our best behavior with everyone. If in the temple, for example, someone drops tea on our khichdi, so they will say, Prabhu, sorry. No problem, Prabhu, क्या बात कर रहे हो यार? क्या आप सर्व कर रहे हो? बीवी ने डाला तो बोलो क्या बात कर रही हो? इतना साल से तुम मुझे सर्व क्या है? Like that, correct? So that's why we get 10 out of 10 in the temple. Our real nature is in our home, and if we can rectify that, we will go back to Godhead in the 100% we will go.
Purification.
100% we will go back in this lifetime. No need to. Natural. But it is also said, do it artificially before you do it naturally. Otherwise, take the walk. Srila Prabhupada.